Hi guys, happy Tuesday, Taco Tuesday, December 16th. So the Vanity Fair came out with this article about Susie, and here it is. Here's the summary of it. So I've summarized it and the important quotes from it. It's about everybody.
The core frame of the article. Chris Whipple portrays Susie Wiles as the single most important channel between Trump's impulses and actual governance, often not restraining him, but shaping execution, managing crises, and empowering a hardline team. A former GOP chief sums up the premise: so many decisions are being made on the whim of the president, and the only force that can direct or channel that whim is Susie. Wiles' own self-definition is blunt. I'm not an enabler. I'm also not a bitch. I guess time will tell whether I've been effective. Wiles' power structure and junkyard dogs. Wiles describes her core team as J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, and Stephen Miller, and she's depicted as running a West Wing where she stays calm while surrounding herself with aggressive operators. A deputy chief of staff describes her vibe. She doesn't raise her voice, but she likes being around junkyard dogs. Those dogs are named as Miller, Blair, Scavino, and others. A key quote that signals her boundaries with Trump: "Sir, remember that I am the chief of staff, not the chief of you." How she characterizes Trump, Vance, Rubio, Musk, Vaught. These are some of the most revealing on-the-record character judgments in the piece. On Trump, he has an alcoholic's personality, and he operates with a view that there's nothing he can't do. Nothing. Zero. Nothing. On Vance, his conversion is sort of political, and he's been a conspiracy theorist for a decade. On Russell Vaught, a right-wing absolute zealot. On Musk's behavior, I think that's when he's microdosing. She notes no first-hand knowledge. On Musk operationally, he is a complete solo actor, / the challenge with Elon is keeping up with him. The governing philosophy, facilitator versus restrainer. Vance articulates the thesis of Wiles' tenure. The job is not to control Trump, but to implement him. Vance, Susie, is a facilitator. Her job is to actually facilitate his vision and to make his vision come to life. That's why one of the article's central questions becomes, it's not just can she restrain him, it's does she want to? Big events and crises, the article says, defined year one. 1. Mass pardons for January 6 defendants, day 1. Wiles claims she did press Trump about pardoning violent offenders. I did exactly that. I am on board with happenstancers. But she says Trump argued even violent offenders were treated unfairly. She adds, there have been a couple of times where I've been outvoted. And if there's a tie, he wins. 2. Musk eviscerates USAID PEPFAR damage. Wiles says she was shocked by the scale and method. I was initially aghast. On Musk's approach, shut it down, fire everybody, shut them out, and then go rebuild. Not the way I would do it. She also says Trump won't understand details. The president doesn't know and never will. He doesn't know the details of these smallish agencies. Rubio denies the program is being destroyed. We are not eviscerating PEPFAR. It's rearranged and reorganized. A former GOP chief's reaction is quoted as, I find that immoral. 3. Deportations and errors. Alien Enemies Act, El Salvador prison. Wiles concedes process problems. We've got to look harder at our process for deportation. She draws a line. If there's doubt, our process has to lean toward a double check. On a case involving mothers deported with U.S. citizen kids, including a child with stage 4 cancer, she says, I can't understand how you make that mistake. It could be an overzealous agent, I don't know. 4. Tariffs, chaos, and internal dissent. Liberation Day. Wiles depicts Trump as improvising. So much thinking out loud is what I would call it. She tells advisors to align rather than fight him. This is where we're going to end up. So figure out how you can work into what he's already thinking. She says she tried to use Vance to slow announcements. We told Donald Trump, hey, let's not talk about tariffs today. The rollout triggers market panic and the taco narrative, Wiles admits. It's been more painful than I expected. The piece cites a poll result, 56% saying tariffs harmed the economy. 5. National Guard deployments to cities. Wiles describes the Guard as effectively supercharging immigration enforcement. This was like a vitamin boost of ICE of the National Guard. She rejects fears about suppressing voting. Categorically false, will not happen. On courts, she insists Trump will comply. I do, but also predicts they'll still win. We will ultimately prevail. 6. Epstein files, the debacle and internal damage. Wiles is scathing about Bondi's rollout. First, she gave them binders full of nothingness. There is no client list, and it sure as hell wasn't on her desk. Wiles says she read what she calls the Epstein file and asserts Trump is in the file, and he's not in the file doing anything awful. She also says Trump's claim about Clinton is wrong. There is no evidence Clinton visited Epstein's island. The president was wrong about that. She frames the political danger as coming from newer coalition voters. It's the Joe Rogan listeners, not the MAGA base. 7. War on drugs, boat strikes, and legality concerns. This is one of the starkest parts of part 2. Wiles describes Trump's Venezuela posture. He wants to keep on blowing boats up until Maduro cries uncle. When pressed about legal authority/Congress. Don't need it yet. She defends the strikes. These are not fishing boats. Trump's framing, as reported by Wiles, he views it as lives saved, not people killed. 8. Retribution and prosecutions, Comey, Letitia James. Wiles admits the optics problem. People could think it does look vindictive. I can't tell you why you shouldn't think that. She also offers the tell on Trump's mindset. When there's an opportunity, he will go for it. On Letitia James specifically. Well, that might be the one retribution. And not on her. She had $500 million of his money. 9. Third term talk. Wiles says it's trolling plus ego gratification. No, but he sure is having fun with it, driving people crazy. She describes him as occasionally musing then walking it back. Sometimes he laments, I wish I could run again. And then he immediately says, not really. She calls the 22nd Amendment clear, pretty unequivocal. The article's bottom line. Whipple's conclusion is that Wiles may be the thin line between Trump and disaster, not because she blocks him consistently, but because she organizes power, absorbs chaos, and keeps the machine moving. One of the sharpest closing exchanges captures the paradox. Whipple suggests Trump depends on her. Wiles replies, Trump doesn't depend on anybody.
There you go, guys. Enabler.